Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be 3D modeling this object in SOLIDWORKS. So the first thing I'll take note of is my origin and where it's located. And I can see here that there is a little note that says origin is located on the front. So that's going to be right here on the front of the head of the wrench. It sticks out the furthest. So it's not necessarily right in the middle, meaning we can't use that plane that goes down through the middle. We're going to actually have to make our own plane that goes down through the middle. So the origin is on the front. That's a little bit trickier than how it normally would be. The second thing is our units. So we notice we are in IPS. That's why we have a lot of decimal places. So looking further at this, I see there's something strange going on right here. So my little note that I wrote to you says that this demonstrates a broken out section view. You can see there's a little squiggly line here. So this is a broken out section view, so you can see the inside. Okay, seeing that it's solid and it does look kind of like an eye. That also indicates that this little cutout, this slot cutout, is also on both sides, as you can see, and it's centered. The other thing that it says is that it is a break view. So meaning this entire wrench is actually much larger than this picture shows. It being broken right here, they used a break view to shorten this thing because basically from here to here is the exact same thing. It continues on. So this is much larger than what the picture actually shows. And the very last thing is that there is a note down here that says floating radius. So if you've never seen what that means before, you've never seen that little determination there, floating radius is basically indicating that you have to define the radius of this curve by defining everything else. So you can see inside here we have a little polygon that has a circle that goes around it. So that is a circumscribed polygon with a radius. We have a big curve here that has a radius, and we have an overall height. So the curve that this is pointing to is actually this little piece here and up here because it's the same thing. And it does not have a defined center point. It's not like it's locked onto the origin or on a corner somewhere. It's floating and it will become fully defined once you do all these other measurements. So let's pull this to the side, and in SOLIDWORKS we're going to start a new part. I'm going to make sure that my units are in IPS. My computer defaults to that, so I'm good to go. If yours is not, please change that. And then we are going to be sketching right on the front plane. So I'm just going to do the head of the wrench first, and I can see that there is a polygon on the inside. And if I started to count those sides, or the amount of sides for this polygon, I can see that there's going to be one on the top. Here's 2, 3, 4, and if this was a complete one, you'd have 5 and 6. So we're going to do a circumscribed, because that circle is on the outside, circumscribed polygon with 6 sides. So make sure you have it to 6 and circumscribed. And I'm just going to click the origin and move over to the right. I'll hit escape. And this thing can still grow in size and also rotate. So in order for it to not rotate, you could simply just click on one of those dots and the origin and set them to horizontal. Or you can just click on a horizontal line and make it horizontal. Now it won't rotate. Okay, now it says radius. It doesn't actually have a diameter. So if we dimension this right now, it would be diameter. You can, multiply that by 2, but we are eventually going to trim this anyway. So I'm just going to get my trim tool and trim up here what I don't need. Okay, I don't need this. I don't need that. So I'm just going to keep that over here, what I basically see on the picture. Now I'll actually dimension this curve. And it says it has a radius of 0.88. 0.88. So everything's fully defined except for these dots right here because it doesn't know how far out those need to go. So let's get our arc tool, and we're going to use the center point arc because it also shows that there's a big arc right off of the origin here. So we'll just click on the origin, kind of just draw an arc somewhere around like that. Okay. Then I'll get my 3-point arc tool, and this is going to be that floating arc. So I'll just click that dot, and I'll come over here and click this endpoint. Kind of move up there somewhere. So click these 2 endpoints. Right. So that's kind of the head of it, but it's not really defined yet. So let's dimension what we know, and that would be this arc. We know that has a radius of 1.81. We know that these actually have a radius of 1.12. So you could either set these to equal, or you could just type them in, 1.12. And then we just need to make this tangent. So you hold in Shift and you select both those lines and make this tangent. It'll wrap that around. You can do that here as well. And move those around. Now these are still underdefined because we are also missing where their center points go. So as you see, it's currently floating. It will change based on the next part. So the next part that we see is that 3.25. So you could do this several different ways. I'm just going to do this with the line tool, and I'm going to try to dimension from there to here. So if you get the line tool and you do a construction line, basically if I move up top here, we want it to be straight off of this top. So if I click the line and I just move my mouse over, okay, with a construction line, I want to make sure that this is a horizontal construction line, and I want it to be coincident right up here. I don't care if it's tangent yet. Your computer might default to that. I don't know if you really need that. But we're going to get another construction line and do that again down here. So I'm not clicking on any of these dots just to be sure, just clicking on the line. Okay, and if it goes tangent, then it can. Um, so we'll just select that line and make it horizontal. So I have two horizontal lines. Now I can dimension in between these two, and we'll make this 3.25. So there's probably several different ways of doing that, and that's fine. But that is just one way that I know for sure. And now I'm going to make these connection points actually line up. So I'll select that dot, hold in Shift and select this dot, and we're going to make them vertical from one another. So in other words, it's symmetrical from one side to the other. And when you do that, it fully defines that entire head. Now we'll go to the Features tab and hit Extrude. And we want to send this back so that the origin is on the front. And it says it is a thickness of 0.75. Okay, we'll hit the green check. Now I'm going to make a plane in the middle here. So to do that, we're going to go to Reference Geometry and Plane. Reference 1 is going to be this side. Reference 2, if we rotate around, we'll select the other side, and that's going to make a midplane right here in the middle. Then we'll hit the green check, and now I'm sketching right in the middle. Since the origin's on the front, I can't really use that front plane. So now we'll get our sketch tool. So since I had my plane selected, it was sketching right on the plane. If yours asks you, it gives you a yellow or orangish warning over here, you just need to select that plane. So now hit Control 8 to go to a nice flat view. And I'm going to get my line tool, just start on this line, go straight over. Okay, I'll hit Escape, get my line tool again, click on this line, draw straight over, and now I need my tangent arc. If yours did not set it to tangent, meaning you don't see this tangency, please select both lines and put those to tangency. Okay. Now you could redraw this arc yourself, or you can just use this convert entities, which basically will copy it over. So if we select that and hit the green check, see how it copied it over. And then you can just trim off what you don't want. Notice I'm using the trim to closest here. Okay. Then we can hit the green or hit the smart dimension, and we can smart dimension this. So it says from the origin all the way over here to this center point is a total of 10.75. That's going to bump that out. So you can see already this wrench looks much bigger because the picture that you see is a broken view. Okay, it's not the full view. So the next thing that we can actually do is determine the up and down, like the height of it. So by doing this, if we just hit the escape key, or to do this, we can just select that center point, hold in Shift and select our origin, and we can just make them horizontal from one another. So it'll put it straight across. You saw how this grew. And then we just need to dimension that. So it says that is 0.75 radius. Okay. So now we have the actual handle portion of it. Let's go to our Features tab and hit Extrude. And since we are drawing in the middle, we're going to change this from blind to mid-plane. And the overall thickness for that is actually 0.5. 0.5, and it shows you right up at the top. 0.5. So if I rotate so you can see what we just did, we extruded right here in the middle. Okay, so now I'm going to sketch, and I'm just going to sketch on this outside this time. Hit Control 8 again, and I'm going to use my straight slot. I'll move my mouse over this end curve, this radius, and the center point pops up. I'll use that center point and draw straight over, and just kind of make that cutout. And then we can dimension this. The construction line is a length of 7.25, and one of the radius, so the end of it, is 0.44. So that's now fully defined because it's locked into that center point. Go to the Features tab and hit Cut Extrude. And since this total thickness of the top is 0.5, or of the handle is 0.5, we have to do a little bit of math. So if this whole thing's 0.5 and the thickness of this inside part is 0.25, well, half of 50 is obviously this 25. So now we're left with 25, but we have two cutouts. So we have to divide that in half, meaning we're going to have an eighth on this side and an eighth on this side. So if it's a ½ inch thick, this middle part is a fourth, we have an eighth and an eighth left. So if you can't do all that math in your head, we can just type in a simple equation here. So 0.25 divided by 2 is going to give us 0.125. That's an eighth. Then we'll hit the green check. Now that's cut in. And we can then use this plane that we created that's right in the middle to mirror that to the other side. So if you get your mirror tool, it's already got that feature, the cut feature, because that's the last thing we did. The plane is going to be plane 1. You can hit the green check, and now you can rotate around. You can see it's cut out on the other side. If you want to double check this, you can hit Evaluate and Measure. You can click on this side, rotate around, and click over here, and it will say that the distance in between the two is 0.25. Okay, so we did that correct. So now let's go ahead and just fillet this. Go to the Features tab and hit Fillet. We're going to have to do 3 different fillets because they are kind of complex and they're running into one another. So the first fillet we're going to do is just the simple one on the inside here, and it says that that measurement is 0.12, so it's just slightly smaller than what this distance is. And if you just click on the inside there, it should wrap it all the way around, rotate around, and we can do that side as well. And let's see if there's any others, say 0.12. There are. It says that this inside curve is 0.12, so we can select right there. If I rotate around, select right here as well, and we can hit the green check. Okay. Now this part actually curves up. So if we get our fillet tool, that has a radius of 0.5. Click on this top piece, rotate down, click on the bottom piece right there, hit the green check. You can see that's complex right there, so that's why SolidWorks would have had a hard time if you tried to do it all at once. Plus they're 2 different measurements. And then the last thing that we need to do is actually fillet the entire handle. So that radius is actually 0.06. So just to pull this over here so that you kind of know where I'm getting all these measurements from. That curve that's coming down into the handle was 0.5. The curve on the inside of here, if we follow that around, you can kind of see it says 0.12. 0.12. This is also 0.12. That's why we did that together. And now this last one is 0.06. 0.06. So that's going to be right there. 0.06. And here we can just select the top of that and it'll wrap it the whole way around. Select the other side of it, wraps it the whole way around, and we can hit the green check. So now we have the entire thing drawn and modeled. Let's change our materials. So it says the material is cast or gray cast iron. So that's not one here that we see. So let's go to Edit Material. This is the steel folder, so let's scroll down into the iron folder. And we want gray cast iron, not the one that has SN, just normal gray cast iron. Hit Apply and Close. Let's go up to the Evaluate tab and Mass Properties. And we should get a mass of 2.32 pounds, volume of 8.92, surface area of 57.20. Center of mass looks just like this. So we're all good to go there. And if you got this, you can save it and move on to the next one. If you didn't, please try to problem solve and figure out where you went wrong.